The Captive of Elnor, 7. Rain fell like ash over the jungle moon of Elnor, 7, hissing against the charred wreckage of what had once been a Varnathi command post. The stench of scorched flora and ionized blood lingered in the air. Commander Elen Rourke stepped carefully through the mud, her plasma rifle held low, its barrel still warm. "Zone's clear," crackled Lieutenant Ferris in her comms. "Nothing but corpses." Elen didn't respond. Her eyes scanned the destruction. Dozens of alien bodies lay sprawled and twisted, glassy-eyed, scaled warriors with obsidian armor now cracked and smeared with dirt. A massacre sanctioned and swift. The Confederacy had struck hard. No prisoners, they'd said. But Elen had learned long ago that silence didn't always mean safety. A faint movement caught her eye near a collapsed biometal structure, half submerged in foliage. She approached, boots sinking into the soft earth. There, beneath the twisted remains of a canopy wing, something shifted. Cautiously, she pulled the debris aside. The alien lay crumpled, breathing in shallow rasps. A tall, sinewy being, its silver-blue scales glistened wetly in the rain. Its face was long and angular, with pupil-less black eyes that blinked slowly at her. Gold blood oozed from a gash across its abdomen. Elen raised her rifle. The Varnathi raised one arm, barely. Its voice rasped, distorted but intelligible through her translator implant. "Do not kill me." Elen frowned. "Your enemy combatant. You were warned." "I know." It coughed, convulsing. "But if you show mercy, human, my body will grant you powerful offspring." She froze. "What did you just say?" The alien's eyes fluttered. "Our lineage is engineered. Purposeful. Hybrid union between us could create something beyond either species. Stronger. Smarter." Elen's mouth tightened. She'd heard rumors, whispers and off-record reports about the Varnathi's selective breeding programs, their ability to consciously manipulate genetic legacy. But to offer that now? "You're bargaining," she said coldly. "I am offering," the alien corrected, surprising her. "Not to survive, but to be used with intent. Better than dying nameless in mud." Elen lowered her rifle slightly. "You think I want a child?" "No," it replied. "But your kind does." Thunder rumbled above them. Elen stared down at the alien. Its breathing was faltering, its body beginning to seize under the cold and loss of blood. She keyed her comm. "Command, this is Rourke. I've got a survivor. Varnathi." There was a pause. "Say again." "Enemies alive. Sending coordinates for medevac. They'll be in critical." The voice on the other end hesitated. "Commander, protocol dictates no retrieval of Varnathi assets. Terminate and proceed." Elen looked at the dying alien. It met her gaze without fear. "Negative," she said. "This one talks. I'm bringing it in. You're exceeding mission parameters." "Noted," she replied, cutting the channel. She knelt beside the alien, wrapping a thermal seal around its torso, ignoring the blood. It flinched, then went still. "Why?" it asked weakly. "I don't know," Elen muttered. "Maybe I want answers. Maybe I'm tired of being told who deserves to live." She paused, then added, "Don't make me regret this." The alien gave a faint, humorless hiss. "If you knew what I carry, you would not." A long pause stretched between them as the storm intensified. Above, the roar of drop thrusters signaled the arrival of her medevac team. As the alien slipped into unconsciousness, Elen stood. She felt the weight of what she had just done. Breaking protocol, saving a possible weapon, perhaps a future war in the making. But beneath that, deeper, something else stirred, curiosity and a flicker of dread. Because she knew this wasn't just an act of mercy. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. The Offspring project. The interior of the orbital facility Helix Station was sterile, gleaming, and cold in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. Commander Elen Rourke stood behind a one-way observation panel, arms folded, watching the figure seated motionless in the containment room below. Xel'nari. That was the name the alien had given her once consciousness returned during treatment. According to the medical scans, its internal anatomy had shifted dramatically since arrival. The Varnathi body, it seemed, adapted rapidly, healing, optimizing, almost as if it had sensed it was no longer in a war zone, but a laboratory. "Looks like it's thriving," said Dr. Callenvoss beside her, tapping data into a terminal. "Tissue regeneration off the charts. Neural patterns more complex than anything in our database. It's not just recovering, it's evolving." Elen didn't reply. Her gaze was locked on Xel'nari. "They speak to you," Voss added casually. "And only to you. That's rare, especially from a species that considers us primitive apes." "She doesn't trust anyone else," Elen said. Voss chuckled. "You keep calling it she. Not biologically accurate, you know. It's not about biology." Voss smirked but said nothing more. Through the panel, Xel'nari lifted her head, as if sensing Elen's presence. Inside the containment room, Elen entered with a hiss of decompression. The guards outside tensed, but didn't stop her. Xel'nari stood. "Commander." "Xel'nari," Elen said, approaching. "You're healing quickly. Your medicine is crude, but functional," the alien replied. "My body completes the rest." There was a pause. "You know why you're still alive?" Elen asked. "You disobeyed your orders," Xel'nari said. "Because you are unlike your commanders. You listen. I need more than words. The scientists, they think you're valuable. Not as a diplomat, as a breeder." Xel'nari's expression didn't change, but her body shifted, shoulders rising slightly, like hackles. "They believe I will cooperate," she said softly. "They think they can take what they want. And you? What do you believe, Elen Rourke?" Elen hesitated. "I've read the reports. They've already started cloning attempts using samples taken during surgery. You're being harvested. You disapprove?" "Yes." Xel'nari stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "Then why come here today?" "Because I need to know what you meant back on Elner 7. About Offspring." The alien's voice dropped to a hush. "We Varnathi do not reproduce by accident. We merge selectively, genomes and memories intertwined. Offspring are forged, not born. Purposeful. A child between our species would not be a hybrid. It would be a new kind of being, a bridge." Elen felt the weight of those words. "And you'd offer that willingly?" Xel'nari's eyes bore into hers. "Willingly, yes. Under coercion? Never. You're saying consent is key. I'm saying choice is sacred," Xel'nari said. "Your people take what they fear. But you ask." Elen stepped back, conflicted. "This project, it's not diplomacy. It's asset acquisition. They're not interested in peace. They will break me, Elen," Xel'nari said. "And from my broken parts, they will build weapons." For the first time, Elen saw not a prisoner, not an alien, but a person. Someone whose life was now a bargaining chip in a game she hadn't agreed to play. "You saved me once," Xel'nari added. "Will you do it again?" Later, alone in her quarters, Elen stared at her terminal, reviewing the logs. Genetic harvesting orders, embryo simulation projections, cold numbers predicting battlefield superiority. They'd already begun experimenting with fetal clones. Unviable, fragile, hollow, because what they wanted couldn't be extracted, it had to be given. She opened a private channel to Admiral Thorne. "Sir," she said flatly, "we need to halt Project Heirloom. It's unethical. We're violating a sentient being's autonomy." The Admiral's voice was calm. "This is war, Rourke. Morality is a luxury. I didn't ask for your philosophy. I'm giving you my recommendation." "Recommendation denied," Thorne replied. "You will continue cooperation, or face reassignment." The channel clicked off. Elen leaned back, heart pounding. The line had been drawn, and she had just stepped over it. Rebellion in the blood. The alarms began just after midnight station time. Elen was already awake, suited up in half her armor, when the red lights bathed her quarters in urgency. She wasn't surprised. She'd read the classified data packet from an anonymous source 2 hours earlier. A technician sympathetic to her cause had leaked it. Project Heirloom had advanced without oversight. Embryos grown in artificial sacs. Accelerated development. None survived longer than 20 hours. But the data wasn't the worst part. The new directive was: harvest all viable components from subject Xel'nari. Prioritize neuroepigenetic memory transfer and reproductive glands. Strip down, piece by piece, until nothing remained. Elen sprinted through the corridors, bypassing security checkpoints using her override clearance. She headed straight to Containment Lab B, heart pounding with every footfall. A sick fear gripped her. She might already be too late. She keyed into the observation room. The lights below flickered. Inside the lab, Xel'nari was restrained, limbs pulled by magnetic locks, while two bioengineers hovered nearby with surgical drones. One of them, Dr. Voss, barely glanced up at her. "You're not authorized," he said flatly. "I'm shutting this down," Elen snapped. "Release her. She's no longer a subject of diplomacy," Voss said. "Orders came through this morning. Central Command wants samples before the body destabilizes from mutation. She's not a prisoner anymore. She's an asset. You're dissecting a living being. She's not human, Commander. She's alive. That's all that matters." Voss gestured to the drones. "Proceed." Elen drew her sidearm. The drones froze. So did Voss. "Elen," Xel'nari croaked, her voice weak. Her scaled skin was pale, luminescent. "They're taking my mind. My future. Not today," Elen said. She shot the lock controls, and the restraints released. Voss lunged for the emergency lockdown, but she stunned him with a quick pulse round. He slumped over the console. Xel'nari collapsed into Elen's arms. "We need to move." Together, they staggered through the corridor. Alarms shifted from medical warning to containment breach. Doors sealed behind them. Elen uploaded a backdoor script into the system, erasing surveillance logs and rerouting security patrols. "This way," she said, guiding Xel'nari through a maintenance duct. "There's an old escape pod shaft tied to the waste ejection system. No one checks it anymore." Xel'nari leaned heavily on her. "They feared what I could become, so they tried to carve it from me. You warned me. I warned you because I've seen this before. On other worlds. Your kind is not the first." Elen didn't answer. Guilt clung to her like smoke. They emerged into a service chamber. The air smelled like ozone and grease. Ahead was a rusted escape capsule, decommissioned, but enough to get them to the edge of the station's sensor range. A ship was waiting, a courier shuttle operated by the Galactic Accord, summoned quietly days ago when Elen realized she might need an exit. "I sent them the files," she said. "They know everything now about the experiments, the orders, the embryos. You're not a secret anymore." Xel'nari looked at her. Despite the pain, a faint shimmer of something passed across her face. Relief? Respect? "You risked everything," she whispered. "I didn't do it for politics," Elen replied. "I did it because no one should be treated the way we treat threats we don't understand." Xel'nari reached into the folds of her bodysuit and pulled free a glowing crystal, a biomemory seed. She pressed it into Elen's hand. "This holds my legacy, my knowledge, a map of what we could become together. Not through conquest, but through choice." Elen held it tightly. "What if they come after us?" "They will," Xel'nari said. "But we won't be alone." The capsule door closed. Elen helped her into a seat as the launch sequence engaged. Through the viewport, the stars shimmered like distant fireflies. And behind them, Helix Station began to shrink. Just another cold relic of ambition without conscience. A new Accord. The summit chamber aboard the Galactic Accord Citadel was unlike anything Elen had seen before. Wide and circular, with no thrones, no banners, just a shared table of translucent mineral lit from within. Dozens of species sat around it, representatives of empires, unions, and syndicates. In the center, a small pedestal held the biomemory crystal Xel'nari had given her. She stood beside it now, dressed not in armor, but a simple diplomatic uniform. She had not slept in 2 days. A voice addressed the chamber, its tone patient but firm. "Commander Rourke," said High Counselor Mevra of the Accord, "your report has shaken multiple governments. Are you prepared to stand by your testimony?" Elen raised her chin. "I am." The counselor gestured. "Proceed." Elen activated the crystal. A soft hum filled the room as holographic strands of data bloomed around them. Images of surgical rooms, embryo sacs, genetic extraction logs, and finally, a diagram of Xel'nari's neural matrix slowly being unraveled by Terran scientists. "This," Elen said, voice steady, "is what we did to a living being who asked only for mercy. We told ourselves it was necessary. We called it progress. But what we were doing was desecration. A ripple of disapproval passed through the chamber. A few Terran delegates stiffened. Others looked away. Elen continued. Xel'nari offered us knowledge. Alliance. Offspring born not through force, but mutual purpose. Instead, we tried to slice that promise from her body. I smuggled her out because I couldn't let our fear write the future. The chamber fell silent. Then, the pedestal pulsed. A soft voice emerged. Xel'nari's, translated into every tongue present. I am not human, but I am a person. I bleed, I remember, I choose. I was bred for war, but I offer something else. If your kind can choose differently. She stood now at Elen's side, dressed in flowing accord-weave garments. Her wounds were healing, but the damage done would never fully fade. Yet she held her posture tall. I am willing, she said, to begin anew, not as a subject, not as an experiment, but as a partner. A Surilon senator hissed thoughtfully. And what would this partnership yield? Power. No, Xel'nari said. Understanding. A silence deeper than before settled over the room. Then Mevris spoke. The Accord votes now on whether the Varnathi refugee, known as Xel'nari, shall be recognized as a sovereign citizen under our protection, and whether formal charges shall be levied against the Terran Confederacy for crimes of biological exploitation. Elen's breath caught. This was it. Lights flickered across the council table, one by one. Green for approval, red for abstain, blue for denial. The vote was slow, deliberate. Green, green, blue, green, red, green. When it ended, the result was undeniable. Xel'nari was granted sovereignty. The Terran Confederacy was issued a formal censure. Project Heirloom was declared a violation of the Accord Charter. Justice, however imperfect, had begun. Later, in the gardens of the Citadel, Elen sat beside Xel'nari beneath the translucent canopy. Varnathi flora had been seeded here, gifts from Xel'nari's memory crystal. Strange vines curled around artificial sun lamps, their colors shifting like starlight. It's beautiful, Elen said. Xel'nari nodded. Each one carries memory, a fragment of my home. Will they survive here? If nurtured, if allowed to grow without being reshaped? Elen looked to her. What about your offer? About creating something new, together? Xel'nari smiled, barely. I offered you Offspring when I was dying, she said. Not out of love, out of desperation. But now, if I were to offer again, it would be as an equal. Elen was quiet. Then, and if I said yes? Then we begin, Xel'nari said. Not with biology, but with trust. They sat there, two soldiers of opposing species, watching life grow from the ruins of war. Far beyond the garden, ships still circled, empires still schemed, and fears still whispered in the dark corners of power. But here, in this moment, two beings had chosen something else. Not dominance, not conquest, but mercy. And from that mercy, something stronger than any weapon had been born. The future.